Hello, all. This is your host, Khadijah D. Welcome back to Hear Our Voices, where we tell stories, give resources, and change the narrative of homelessness, guys. So let's get some things in the way. As you might see, congratulations to Hear Our Voices. I should have done this in the last one, but I definitely forgot. Right now, we had 109 subscribers on YouTube. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. It might sound like a small number to some, and it is a small number. People have billions and billions, but we'll hopefully grow this community into a big place. And I want to say it's just so funny because we made a YouTube channel way after that we made a podcast channel, obviously. But I think it was like years in between, probably like 2 or 3 years. And how this number on YouTube surpass Spotify. Oh my gosh. If you're on other platforms listening to us like Apple Music, things like that, please follow us on social media. If you have made any other comments on those platforms, I'm not sure how they work. Please, write us on our either Spotify, that's the only thing I check, YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. TikTok I don't check as often, but if you want to go give me a message in Instagram, I can help you with some emergency services and things like that if you need resources and things like that. So if you need those things, please don't wait and look for me on there. Get to me on Instagram or the email as soon as possible and I can help you. I'm not gonna lie. I've been kind of dropping the ball on the Hear Our Voices email, but I'm doing better. That's why, guys, we're hiring for this position to help me to go through emails and things like that. I do get a lot of spam, so I'm wasting time looking for spam. I can find people to actually help. So just be aware of that. So if you do want to get hired as a helper, part of the narrative team, we need a person who either was in the shelter with their parents or not only shelter, just evicted, housing insecure in general with their parent if they were 21, or if you're a parent with a child under 21. Those are the qualifications. We would love to hear your stories if you want to come on the podcast. And if you do want to join in and do that, you can go with the Hear Our Voices NYC, Hear Our Voices at gmail.com and send over your resume and put in the subject line recruitment or narrative change or job. I didn't honestly come in ahead of time with the subject for that, but if long as I see that, I will definitely look into the resume and I'll contact you as soon as possible. But yes, follow us on our social media platforms because we would love to have you on. If you're a person with resources that could help families in shelter, we would definitely love to have that. If you're a person with an idea of a concept that you want to see on here, I have a little juicy guest coming up in the near future. So I'm excited about these opportunities that this podcast is getting because the more people getting more involved, more sectors realize how they intersect with homelessness. No matter what population you're from, if you work with a grocery store, if you work at this place, we could all help each other to make sure our community is running smoothly. And I know people don't want to think of homelessness as a part of the community, but honestly, homelessness is a big part of our community because a lot of times even they don't have I don't have stats right now because when I went to the hearing, they didn't give me the stats to be honest. But a lot of people who are city workers are homeless. And that's kind of disappointing. That means our city's not paying people properly. That's one thing. And another thing is that we don't think of them as homeless because they have a city job, and that's certainly not true. So just be aware of that. But thank you for coming this far and listening to me ramble. But I hope this information was educational to you and that you can bring this back to wherever you are and realize how you and your position and your, at jobs or just being anywhere you can be with a person who's homeless and not realize it. But we have a guest today. She has come by before. This is her second time on the podcast that I can remember. Her name is Stephanie. She is an advocate for the people out here in different aspects. We're gonna do another episode after this, so definitely tune in to the next episode, which will be her and some updates on her life. But right now, we are talking about the SNAP benefits, guys. So SNAP is through HRA, which is human. Oh my God, HRA. I'm sorry.
Human Resource Administration.
Thank you. So if you don't know, we have alphabet soup over here with the acronyms in these places, DHS, this, that. I'll be forgetting what these things mean because it's like I use the acronyms and I know what they are, but I want to make sure if you don't know what the acronyms mean, that I can say them out properly to you. So yes. So that's what that
Right.
means. There's some updates. We went to a welfare hearing the other day about chips, having chips in the card, and stuff like that. But we're gonna talk about all these things in the episode. But Stephanie, thank you for coming back on and thank you for being a part of this podcast episode today. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me. I am doing all right, hanging in there, still seeing everything that's going on and, doing my best to kind of mitigate that and also, see if I can inspire and help empower the people in my community while I do that.
Yes. So let's get into this episode. If you don't know, if you're new to welfare, public assistance, SNAP, whatever people want to call it, but the food stamp system that we have in America, we had a thing of people skimming money off cards, right? So in COVID,
Yeah.
influx of that actually have happened, and I want to say the federal, I want to say that because it's so much different parts of the government, people were losing money because people were stealing it from their cards. So they were replenished, even though it was a long process. They opened up a part where they had like a certain amount of, I want to say money, and they put it, if it happened, you fill out a form and they'll put the money back on for you. That program has stopped. So a lot of people are now, because it's such a high rise, scamming in general, you see those scam calls all the time. It's happening a lot.
Mm,
So
right.
they are trying to put a chip on the card, which I don't know if that's gonna help or not, because people skim credit cards all the time. So it's like putting a chip on a card, is that gonna make a difference or not? But who am I to say it will and will not? I think they should probably do like how the banks do it sometimes with the approval of each one. The only problem on your phone, only problem with that, if you don't have a phone because something's happening, you can't approve it. So that's the only problem I see with that particular thing. But Stephanie, what do you think about this? And then we can get into your story about what's happening to you right now.
Um, I think it would be beneficial for, consumers to have the chip card instead of the regular cards with the magnetic swipe, right? The magnetic swipe is easier to counterfeit, and your information, like when you swipe, they can clone it. And what they do is they kind of make another card with your information and then they're able to use it that way. So with the chip, there's added security, your data is encrypted. They're like unique codes, like transaction codes that are associated with that. And it kind of was able to detect any kind of anomalies, like any weirdness on your card,
Right.
like that technology can pick it up. So like a clone card might have some sort of, it might read differently from the real card you would get from HRA.
Right.
So having the chip would kind of minimize things like that, right? um the thing is, it's a little bit more expensive,
Yeah.
that kind of system. And it's the EMV system, like Europay, MasterCard, and Visa. Like you had these companies come together and decide to do this, and they're financial companies. So, they have the money to kind of pay for the costs of that kind of upgrade, right? And
Right.
governments don't really like to spend. So I feel like the unwillingness or maybe the delay in doing something like this, had to do with the cost of it. Like, who was going to pay for this? And it's not just the cost of upgrading everybody's card, there's also those costs associated with the retailers upgrading their points of system, right?
Correct.
um, the grocery stores who have to change things up so that we could use chips now and the cards with chips now instead of the cards with the stripe. Um, there has to be some sort of plan for that switch, I guess, for the retailers, because at the end of the day, uh, SNAP recipients drive the business for these retailers. Like supermarkets, those places, a lot of their business comes from SNAP. So it's better for both the clients and the retailers if this system is implemented. But we need to talk about just how it's gonna be paid for, and just spread awareness that in the long run it'll work out better for everybody and cost everybody less, especially the people who are using it, right? Because we're the ones that bear the brunt of it when we lose these benefits. The state doesn't reimburse anymore, as you mentioned before earlier when you were speaking.
Right.
So that's not necessarily making things better for poor people, right?
Right.
So it would essentially cost the poor people less in the long run. But poverty is expensive and it's also profitable too. So we're fighting against a number of things.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I feel like this is a great direction to go in. I know that because of the cuts to SNAP, like 186 billion was cut from the SNAP program by the federal government, and they're not doing a lot of things that they should be doing anymore, like tracking food insecurity data. Just because ultimately it's not profitable. Like, they don't really care about poor people, right? And we've seen that in various ways, especially within this particular administration. So, the USDA, they're not tracking that kind of data anymore. And it's things like that are a little bit discouraging. But for the people who are still able to receive SNAP, and those who are eligible, and the families and the children, and we have to protect them, and protect their benefits, right? And help them, because if they don't have food, what are we doing? Why are we taking food out of the mouths of babies? But that's another conversation. But yeah, I feel like it would be great, and it's up to 80% safer, and harder to clone and stuff. So yeah.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. I thought of a lot of stuff while you were talking. Obviously, I was active listening because that's what podcast hosts have to do. But I was thinking, with sometimes with the swipe cards, some people take it from your hand and they swipe it. They're able to swipe on a machine that you can or cannot see, and then put in the other machine so they could charge you, and that's how they clone the cards. But if you have the tap, most times you're not going to release it from your hand. You only tap it on the machine, and you're good to go. Another thing is that, personally, I don't think the machines will have to change that much because most of these bodegas or supermarket already have the tap part. If
But
Mastercard,
it's not the tap. It's the chip. Remember, the tap is the one that has the little three things, like the Wi-Fi rings.
yeah.
But the chip is the one that you have
Oh,
to
you're
insert.
definitely right. You're definitely right.
Yeah.
But you still have
So
to.
it
I mean,
you
we're
know
gonna
it
add
would
both
be
of them then.
great. It would be wonderful if we could skip the chip, given that we're at the tap.
Right.
But all those other issues that I mentioned come in, because that is going to be a little bit more expensive. But ultimately, it would cost less, because if we do upgrade from the magnetic stripe to the chip, in another year or two, everything is tap, right?
Right.
So why are we even considering chip? But some states have already started implementing chip. Like
Um,
Oklahoma, I think, is doing a chip, and California, I'm not sure where else has already started. And New York has, decided to go in that direction as well. So it's just like everything is behind, but we're still grateful that it's going in that direction.
Right.
But ultimately, they should have just done, the tap and be done with, because tap has been in effect for a while.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Thanks for correcting me. In my mind, when I see chip, I see tap because I only do tap. I rarely insert the cards anymore. So thank you for that correction. My thing is
No,
that
no, 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 no. It's fine because, like, I have both right now too. Like, I still have a card that I insert, and I find it's a little bit more annoying to do that. Just just to have to insert it when I could just tap it. You know what I mean?
no, I know what
So
you
I get
mean. I think what it is for me also is that if a person who's disabled have disabilities, when you have like low eyesight or something like that, to insert a card, even though I know we've been doing it for a while, it's actually easier just to wave it over. You can add it into your phone if you don't have the card there.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
different thing, those
yeah,
aspects. So if you people really wanted to do, if HRA wanted to be smart with Access HRA, and they say if you go into that app and put it for the wallet and automatically download it to that person's phone, they wouldn't even have to have the card to be able to get
right.
duplicated like that way if they want to do it in that way. And I
And
think
then
what it is
a
to
lot
me,
of people do have smartphones,
yeah. So I
and would be able to kind of utilize it like that. That would be really smart for them to just go ahead and do it. The thing is, I don't. I mean, we could probably speak to, you know, certain people who are in these positions to help make these decisions, right? But everything is just always like two steps behind, you know?
right, the government is
And we're on the forefront, we're on the ground, we see what's going on, we know what the benefits are, and we're also aware of the drawbacks. And, we're able to kind of work together and problem solve for the drawbacks. So,
right.
I don't understand why we're not having those conversations and we're not doing those things. It's just a waste of time and money and effort in not doing what we know is gonna work. Like, I don't think they should stop at chips. That's basically what I'm saying. I think they should have just gone straight to tap.
It's for sure. And it's not a way to make up new technology. The only thing we have to do is give out new cards. But people, when a card is lost, when you have the card is expired, any of these things happen, we send out new cards to people regardless, but it's a credit card. But it's a benefit that's actually helping people. But like we don't want to upgrade it. That doesn't make sense to me. Technology is already in stores and retailers. It's not like we have to give them new machines. They have the machine
Right.
to insert the insert or tap or do both.
Yeah.
It could be do both because maybe sometimes these machines are finicky. If you don't know New York City, we have the Omni card that came out last year. Probably came out before, but I started using mine last year to be honest. It was very we love our Metro RP to the Metro card, but the machines are new. They're not like 10, 30 years old. They're new. Granted technology breakdown, but when you go to certain machines, you're tapping and tapping like I know money's on my card. It's not going through. So if that might be a thing, like example, if you go to a store and the tap part is not working, but sometimes even with my personal cards, I do the tap and I have to technically insert. I don't want to put the pin number or something in. Maybe that might be the thing that they have to still put maybe both of them in case something at a
Uh-huh.
store when they go in does not work. And so the person typing in numbers, that might be the thing they have to probably put on both of those just in case until we get our technology really up and go. But I know the government right now, they slow. Everything they do is a slow IRS portal slow. Is this
Oh my
they never
goodness.
update it?
Don't
And
talk
it's why
about
it's
IRS.
complicated. It's complicated. I just want to know how much I owe the government. I don't need to go through 5 tracks to find the money. Do you want the money or not? Just tell me. Oh my God.
It's the bureaucracy. It's the bureaucracy. It's the cuts as well, because a lot of the federal workforce has been cut,
Right.
and that includes IRS employees, right? So, HPD people, a lot of Washington agencies, and a lot of them are Black women.
Mm.
Um, So the work is even slower now, and you mentioned the IRS. I recently had to reach out, and they told me, you know, my amended returns, even after they receive them, it would take up to 16 weeks before it's reflected.
Yeah.
And I said, that's 4 months. Like, you put it in weeks to
Right.
make it seem like it's not that bad, but that's
Right.
4 months, right? So I have to wait 4 months before it's reflected and then I'll know if you accept it. And then I'm able to file for the current year. Make it make sense.
That's
4 months from today is what? Summer?
yeah.
August? Several months after the tax deadline.
Right.
Whenever it is. It's several months after April 15th.
Right.
So what are we doing?
There's
But
penalties
I'm gonna
involved.
have to file for like an extension just to give myself that time frame, and then move forward, because the next return is electronic. So I should be fine. They'll get that immediately, and I'll be able to know what's going on in like a day or two. But in the meantime, I have to wait for those slow um, turning mechanisms to work. Like, I don't know.
No, I understand. I totally get it. It's just is the problem is that I feel like we bought into the system and the system is always working against us, and it's ridiculous to be honest. And I think they just need to work for the people more than think about everything else. So we put our nose in too much other stuff, and we just need to figure out what we're gonna do for our own people, and that's what it is. But yes. So Stephanie, how we got to this
Yeah.
point? Well, I went to the hearing too, but before that, Stephanie told me what happened to her. Can you explain what has happened to you with this food stamp card? Now, obviously, ours is not updated in
Yeah,
your
I
system,
got
but we
so
have
interested in the whole trying to secure my card because of my own experience with skimming of my benefits. Um, in my role as a case manager working with DV survivors, I had clients who, had experiences where they went to the grocery store and, you're expecting to have a certain amount on your card and you swipe and then you're told there's nothing there. And um, over the years, I've had, food stamps off and on.
right,
I've never had such an experience myself.
right,
And on February 12th, like, I used my card, typical day. I went straight home. And on February 13th, I went to Trader Joe's and I'm online and I swipe the card and I'm told that there's nothing on it. And in the moment, I was like, what? It's the shock, it's the disbelief, it's all of that at once. And you're on the line, and poverty is already hard, bro. I'm already paying with food stamps, and then to be told there's no money on it. But
right,
luckily, I did have some cash on another, card, and I was able to pay for the food there. But it goes back to a bigger issue, right? I needed that
right,
food in the moment, and the cash was for bills, right?
right.
So, that's the reason I have food stamps, because I need it right now, and to feed my daughter and to, feed myself. And I could not believe this was happening to me. This is the middle of the month. We still have 2 weeks to go, okay?
Mm-mm.
And I know I had almost 300 on the card.
Man,
So it turns out I used the card at a like a food stand, like a produce stand that was literally on my block. And I've been there before several times in the 2 years since I've lived here and never had any kind of experience like that. Um, I called the number on the back of the card and I was told that they do not reimburse benefits anymore, but they would send me a new card. And also, they would send me my transaction history so I could, use that potentially in a claim to HRA and also when I filed a police report. But I would not be getting that money back. So we had to make do for the rest of the month. But, you know, it worked out because of my community. We didn't go hungry. I had a couple people buy us groceries, yeah, and I'm beyond grateful for that. But um, the fact that I didn't get it back from the state was a bummer as well because it was not my fault. I had no knowledge of it being skimmed when I looked at the breakdown because I got the EBT Edge as well and the app and I logged in and I could see that the card was used, quote unquote, at 5:05 a.m. that Friday morning in it was three different transactions, but it was two locations. So the three transactions occurred at the exact same time in two separate locations. So this was like some sophisticated, hacking stuff that they're doing. One was Avenue D in Brooklyn, and one was some village upstate New York, close to the Canadian border.
That's crazy. That's something dumb though. You said one of them was happening at the same time.
It
Obviously,
happened at 5:05 a.m.
that's what I'm saying.
Friday morning.
The system should have
So
saw that first of all. 5:05. Most people are not up. People are, but I'm just saying.
right.
Also, if it happened at the same time, obviously there's a glitch somewhere or somebody's stealing something. If it happened in different places at the same time, how was that one person with that same one card at these different
They're
places?
able to, they know it's not me. They definitely know it's not me.
Exactly.
That
So why was it
proves
not stopped? Why was it going
itself.
through?
There's no way it could have been me.
Exactly.
And that in itself should be enough reason for them to give me the money back or, just punch some numbers and send it back, right?
Right.
But no, that's not how they do things anymore. And I had to just figure it out. And this is why it's an issue because it sends people in a tailspin. I was blessed enough to have people to fall back on, in little ways, but not everybody has that, right? Some people they get more in benefits because they might have more children, they might have elderly or disabled in their home, which would account for them getting a little bit more. And no matter how much you get, it's still not enough for food. That's what I know, bottom line.
Right.
Um, but it might seem like a decent amount initially, right? So if you have a 5-member household and they skim your benefits,
Right.
that's 5 people you have to feed.
Exactly.
That's 5 people you have to feed, right? And them not giving it back, I get it. It's expensive, hackers get away with it, whoever took it. But ultimately, what about the family that still needs to be fed?
Exactly.
What about the family that still needs to be fed? And you imagine the shock, you go in and you have your cart full, because I just had some fruit. right? And it wasn't a lot of money. It was like 20 something bucks. But Trader Joe's has really good prices.
They do.
So, it was fruit. It was a decent amount of fruit. It wasn't too much. But what about the person who their food stamp lands on that day and they know it's coming on that day and it lands and they make a huge list and they get to the front of the register with a huge cart, filled with the food for the next 2 weeks for their family of five. And then you're told, oh, there's no money on your card. You checked it before you left the house. That's
Right.
crazy.
It is. I think
And
what
it's so
yeah.
unfair.
No, it is
But that's
unfair.
my experience, and it was eye opening for me. And it made me a little bit more passionate about upgrading the security of these cards and kind of trying to find some way to advocate for them securing the cards and protecting benefits, right? But
Right.
I'm glad to see that, they are considering it. And this is something that we will have eventually, but it can't come any sooner or too soon.
So, as we know on this channel, first of all, I was at the hearing. I took a video. I feel like I was too far away, so I didn't get like you can hear it. We have to put your headphones up really, really high, and so I would put the
Mhm.
link from YouTube in the description below, so you can see what New York City is doing. I would assume that the whole state would do it. I hope that would not be, like New York City and New York State has different things, so but I assume that the whole
Right.
state would be having
There,
this.
there's that too.
So, another thing is that on this podcast, we just don't just point out the problem. There's a problem. There's a problem. We're trying to give solutions, and a solution we agree with at this point is having the chip. Really, we want tap, but the government is slow, so we understand. And another
Yeah.
solution I think we need to come up with is a task force. If we see in a certain area, a certain place that people need to get arrested first and also pay a fee and whatever is lost plus interest personally because you are like you're putting this problem on people's families and they're stressed out. So I think there should be a fee with this, but I think there should be a task force. I'm not sure if there's one. Maybe there is one. I just never heard about it. 'Cause, granted, over here I don't know everything, but I know some things about some things. You know what I'm saying? There should be a force that the police officers they can find the data and work with HRA and see where these are happening in a
I
congregated
agree.
area. They should do that. And 'cause I know for a fact HRA knows where this is happening. If in a month time, if it happened in 10 different locations, we need to go to these places, find where it's at. And if it's happened to more, especially if it's happened to, example, 10 different places, every time people go in, it's happening. Go to these places and lock people up and pay them a fine. And maybe we could shut down their license too because they're doing unethical practices at this point. So they
It's
want to affect them. We
crazy.
could affect you. We'll take your whole livelihood away. Don't play yourself. So there needs to be something behind what's happening. Do the police report and it's just staying in a dusty room or on a system is great and dandy. But what are we gonna do to make sure that we get our funds back and people understand this shouldn't be happening anymore? It's
It's
really
so upsetting
it is
because I walk past that place every day. I
disgusting.
walk past that place every day and I get so annoyed and triggered when I see them people, right?
Mhm.
Because they know about it. Employees know about it. They're the ones that have rigged the machine or
Yeah.
tampered with it in the first place in order for it to record your information. They're the ones that do it. And I don't know if, I do not their bosses are aware of it or the boss themselves, because you can't say the boss doesn't know about it. But I feel what I was gonna do was go there and like throw my police report at them, and be like, yeah, I reported it, so they're gonna come look for y'all. And I feel like I'm gonna follow up with the police just to make sure that they go there and check out that machine. There has to be some sort of ramifications for these people.
Right.
Like, no, at the end of the day, families are suffering from this. It's not just one isolated incident. It's happening
Exactly.
all over New York City, and
Or
it's happening
America.
to a lot of families all over America, because
Right.
otherwise, why would like Oklahoma roll it out or
Exactly.
California already have it in place? So you're right. It is all over America, and it's just like people hate poor people. Like, I don't know, like, and poor people are just trying to survive. It's crazy.
They don't hate you enough to take your money though. They definitely want that free
No,
money.
no, 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 no. And poverty is really expensive, because I was having this conversation the other day, and like talking about even overdraft fees. Banks make millions in overdraft fees.
Right.
And who doesn't have the money to cover their purchases sometimes? Poorer people, right? Um, and if you say certain banks, you pay something and it's like $2 over or something. It's predatory to be charged $35 for $2.
Right.
Insane. And some banks are still doing that.
Yeah.
So, that's just one example of how much more expensive it is when you don't have the money to begin with.
It's true.
Yeah. We pay more. Certain neighborhoods have the food is more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Talk about like the food deserts in terms of nutrition. Uh, if you go to downtown Brooklyn, you'll find Whole Foods, you'll find Trader Joe's, a couple of them. There's one, below Livingston, I think, over that side, and
Yeah,
there's one
yeah.
at City,
Yeah, by
right? There's two in downtown Brooklyn.
Marshall. Yeah.
And the prices are great. As I mentioned before, the produce is fresh. It's the freshest I've seen in the city. And, it's just, I see these things. And then I get back home to Crown Heights, and the produce over here is not as fresh and it's more expensive. Why? Because, I might get food stamps and would probably be a little bit more willing to just waste it. Is that what you think? I don't know. It's weird because people's perceptions of poorer people, or even the people on food stamps, it's crazy because you can't get food stamps if you don't work anymore.
Right.
That's like if you're able bodied. Since March,
With the A bot.
there's literally a law that went into effect, right?
Right.
You have to work to get food stamps.
Right.
So if you get food stamps and you work, it's a bigger question of the measures that they have in place, the poverty measures, the ones that they have to address those issues, and the actual cost of living in New York City. There's a huge gap. Because the food stamps are not enough.
Right.
Most people run out before the month is over, and you're working
Right.
and paying your bills and your rent. So the issue is that affordability in New York City.
Right.
So they, most families, and don't even like get into the talk about the racial part of it, because they think that it's black and brown people who use food stamps the most, and it is not. Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the other part, right? And it's just weird, behaviors from people, and until um I wouldn't even say until they experience it, but because the direction that the economy is in, that gap is ever widening.
Mm.
Middle class is basically this, there's no middle class really. There's only the really wealthy, and then there's us.
I got you.
Right? There's like middle class is dwindling. Like in New York, you gotta make like a what, 250,000 dollars to be middle class per se. How many people are making that?
Most people are not making that. Not
Well, if you make 100,000 in this country, you in New York, you're still not making enough to live in New York.
With the taxes, with the
What that is,
everything. You really don't get a
if
hundred
you
thousand. You're like
you don't
80,000,
qualify
70.
for anything, right?
Right,
You don't qualify for anything if you make that. You don't get food stamps. You don't get, rental assistance. You don't get anything really. So all of your income goes, excuse me, literally into your cost of living.
right. That's crazy.
Crazy. Excuse me.
So I'm
Sorry.
gonna say, do you have any last words that you would like to say about this topic?
You know, I really want for them to try to speed up that thing, as quickly as they can. Make sure that they address it because it's serious. People are falling into the gap, especially when they don't have anything to catch them when their benefits are stolen.
Mm,
And what the last thing is, it would be great to, have people, I don't know, reach out to you, um, if they've experienced this, and maybe we could get something together to go to the NYPD. They must have some sort of, like, with this new community office of community safety and whatnot, they should probably have some task force, as you mentioned, to address things like this, right, and follow up on things like this. And I feel like if they have enough citizens, talking about it, and making sure that they're doing something about it, then maybe we could get them to move on it, right? So yeah, that's my final thought.
got you. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on the podcast. Guys, again, follow us on our social media platform. Again, we are hiring. If you have any urgent questions, we're gonna soon have a telephone number coming out soon. So that's gonna be spicy. You might not get me all the time. I do have a team that works with me. So if you don't get me, you'll get my team, but they are also informed with the information to make sure that you have a successful future in whatever endeavors that you need. Um, Email me as much as you want. Honestly, I'm on Instagram because it goes straight. Email goes to my phone too, but I don't check it as often. But Instagram, if you have it, goes straight to my phone, and I see that pop up on my phone more often than not. So definitely contact me there. I've been able to help a few of you guys with any problems you have, but anything you have to want to talk about, even if it's just like, how you doing, Khadija? I'm like, I'm doing good. I would love to hear
Yeah,
from you guys. I really appreciate it. And thank you for making this 100
usually does. And sorry,
no
maybe
problem.
I should tell them my info too.
Yes,
I didn't stay for the kids at on Instagram.
I'm done.
I didn't stay for the kids, and there's no, it's all lowercase, and just search Stephanie Woodbine and search for me, and I'm there. Also, you can message me. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of figure some things out with this stuff. And thank you for having me again, Khadisha.
Okay.